It's sort of crazy to think that the Master Chief Collection has gone from one of the worst launches in gaming history to honestly a pretty competent product. Despite some bugs the game definitely still has, and some of the issues that the game has compared to the original versions of the games in the collection, it still does a pretty good job of not only allowing players to experience all the past Halo games, but also experience different things that we never had back in the day. Now that said, the Master Chief Collection is by no means perfect, and you can find lists of all its issues. But this past week with Halo 4 coming to PC, the collection is now totally complete on both Xbox and PC, excluding Halo 5, which 343 has said will not make its way into the collection. Now I understand they also said that the MCC wasn't going to come to PC in the past, but honestly at this point I don't really see it coming to PC, so I'm not going to discuss that too much in this video. With the collection now being completed though, what does this mean for the future of the Master Chief Collection? And that is what we're going to discuss in this video. Now that the Master Chief Collection has been fully ported to PC, we must ask the question, what does this mean for the future of the Master Chief Collection? All the games are here now, so is 343 going to move the few members of the MCC team off onto other projects, or will they continue to support the MCC through added features and general updates? If they continue to work on it, how long are they going to work on it? Just until Infinite, or will MCC continue to get support after Infinite's release? 343 has said that they intend to continue working on MCC even once Infinite is released. However, I find those words pretty hollow because I doubt a game studio would come out and say, hey yeah, we plan on just ending support once the next game comes out. I mentioned this in a prior video, but 343 and Microsoft are going to want the player base on Halo Infinite once it comes out, not split between the two. Not only will that lead to a larger Infinite player base, Infinite is also going to have all those ongoing monetization models that we know and love that the MCC doesn't actually have. The MCC is just a one-time purchase and that's it. This past update that shipped with Halo 4 included some extremely crucial features for the MCC, being crossplay and input-based matchmaking. To me, input-based matchmaking is a little bit less important, but crossplay is amazing for the health of the MCC as it literally doubled to tripled the effective population of the game overnight. Absolutely amazing for every aspect of the game, and you can now play with your buddies on whatever platform they reside, whether that's Xbox One, Xbox Series X, PC on Steam, or even the few brave souls who play through the Microsoft Store on PC. The Halo 4 update also addressed one of the biggest issues that plagued the game since its release, and that's that Halo Reach and Halo 2 Anniversary both played terribly at uncapped frame rates. And now, just like the other games in the collection, they run buttery smooth at uncapped frame rates. To me, this is a shame though, because if 343 had Reach running as well as it does now on launch, along with all the cool new features that we've gotten to the collection as time has gone on, I think we would have seen a much more gradual loss of players rather than the gigantic nosedive the population took. And you can even adjust your FOV now on console if you bought a next-gen console. Regardless though, there are still features that the MCC strongly needs, and then there's a variety of features that would be really cool to have, so I'm going to outline some of the features I've seen the community talk about and some that I personally think we need. The first and foremost thing that I want to talk about isn't necessarily a feature, but it's just I would love to see the cleaning up of the CE Gearbox port and the Halo 2 Vista port that are used for Halo CE and Halo 2 in the collection. Both these ports have introduced a laundry list of bugs that the original games did not have, ranging from visual inconsistencies to just gameplay affecting bugs. Many other creators have made videos on this in the past, and there have been tons of Reddit posts, so I'm not going to list off all the bugs, I'll just point you in that direction. I won't lie though, I don't anticipate these bugs being addressed, at least not in any grand way. We could see the corrections of small bugs here and there as 343 is able to figure them out, but completely overhauling these ports to get rid of all the bugs would require tons of work, and that honestly probably isn't worth the time. I know that sucks to hear if you're a huge Halo CE fan or a huge Halo 2 fan, but the matter of the fact is that a lot of these issues are a lot smaller and a lot more niche, and you might not even know about them if you're a more casual player, leaving these games in honestly nice playable states for the mass public. Also, these games have some of the smaller player bases in the collection, so I'm not sure it would be worth the man hours to try and tackle all the issues other than just for a conservation standpoint. That said, in an ideal world, I would love to see them addressed, I just don't see it happening. That being said, let's move on to actual features that could be added, and I'm going to try and put these into categories. Must-needed additions, highly desired additions, and lastly, just additions that would be nice to have. Like I mentioned earlier, while some of these feature ideas are my own, most of them are just an aggregation of various things that the community has been saying for a while, and I'll give you my opinion on why we should have all the different features. So first up, let's hit the must-needed category. Starting in this one, we have the custom server browser. This is a feature that we absolutely need, as it would just allow people to be able to get into lobbies of custom games a lot easier. Currently, the only way to play custom games unless you use third-party server browsers is to just invite your friends like we did back in the old day, and that honestly isn't the best way to get lobbies going, as it's pretty difficult. Like I said, there are third-party websites that you can do it through, but most people don't know about them, so it's not a viable substitution at all. Next up, we have view model adjustments. They have made some manual adjustments to Halo 3 and Halo Reach, but it would be nice to be able to manually adjust the view models ourselves, and it is something that 343 has said they are working on, but they just still have bugs with it, so I do imagine we'll probably see this one. Next up, just general UI updates for the game altogether. The biggest one to me that sticks out in my mind is just how terrible the UI is when you're trying to pick custom game modes and custom maps if you have a lot of them downloaded. Especially on PC, when you can go over that 50 file limit and you can have hundreds to thousands of files, trying to scroll through all of them with the MCC UI is absolutely terrible. Sort of related to this, and this is another one that 343 is working on, is the file share system. We don't have that working on PC, so it would be nice to have, and it would be nice to just be able to natively save theater clips in MCC without having to use weird roundabout processes where you go into your files manually. Double keybinds for all the games are another nice thing that hopefully we get in the future, and it is something that they are working on. I think another thing that's actually a must-needed feature, even though this one isn't very important, is the original endgame credits. Now, I don't know if they necessarily need to be in the campaign itself, as obviously 343 has their own credits, but it would be nice to see them tucked away somewhere in the collection, somewhere you could go and click on them to see the original endgame credits, because even though 343 has done a lot of the work on MCC, it would still be nice to see the original Bungie employees that actually put in all the hard work on these games back in the day. Last up in the must-needed category is the ability to switch teams in custom games. I don't know why you're not able to do this, but it makes playing customs an absolute chore, because if people join in the middle of the game or the teams are uneven, you can't fix it without ending the lobby, and that's just no fun. Next up, let's move on to the highly desired features. In this one first, just more cosmetics. We've obviously seen teasers of the Halo Reach armors like the GRD and the Halo 4 DLC armors that we haven't got into the game yet, but I'm sure are coming. But it would also be nice to see some more cosmetics for the games that haven't seen love yet. I would love to see some skins for Halo 2 Classic, even Halo 2 Anniversary, honestly, or even Halo Reach. While we are going to probably get more Halo Reach armors, there aren't any skins in Halo Reach, and that would be pretty cool too. Another thing that we have seen people kind of plug through the files and find is there have been some of the Halo Online armors. So I would love to just see Halo Online content in general. The armors from Halo Online, some of the cool weapon variants, and the DMR from Halo Online, and obviously the maps from Halo Online. All of that content is there, and I would love to see it ported into the MCC. Another highly desired feature is FOV options for last-gen consoles. It's really cool that the next-gen consoles and PC get FOV options, but I think it's a bummer that if you're playing on an OG Xbox One or an Xbox One X or whatever else you have, that you no longer get FOV options. When the flight first rolled out for Halo 4, they had them, but they took them away because they were experiencing some issues with it, so hopefully they're able to iron those out and we get those back for last-gen consoles, because currently those last-gen consoles playing on crossplay are kind of at a disadvantage, not being able to have those FOV options. Now, in all honesty, they're going to be at a disadvantage regardless, just because of higher frame rates and everything on PC and the new consoles, but it would still be a nice feature for them to have. Next up is just more cool featured playlists, both in social and ranked. We've seen some cool featured playlists that have been added, like Recon Slayer, which was a new playlist that featured new guns, and it was a lot of fun, at least at first, and they also ran ranked challenges with it to unlock skins, and hopefully we get to see more cool playlists like that add new things into the game, or at least take new spins on existing game modes, rather than just the same recycled featured playlist that we've seen time and time again. Don't get me wrong, I love Shoddy Snipes and Griffball, but just give me some new things. I've played those a ton. Try some new things out. I said this in a different video, but why don't they try something like Community Slayer in MCC? There's tons of cool Forge maps. Curate some of them and throw them into a playlist and let us play them for a week or two. I'd also like to see a continued focus on getting players to play ranked. Currently, we have the Halo 4 and Recon Slayer challenges going, and I just want to see more of that in the future. It would be cool too if they kept the variety up and they did these challenges in all sorts of different games. I'm sure the CE community would love to see some CE challenges. The Halo 2 community would love to see Halo 2 challenges, Reach, etc., etc. So just over time, let's see different rank challenges for all the different games to get people back into playing those games. Personally, I know that the only reason I'm playing Halo 4 ranked is because I'm trying to accomplish those challenges, and I'm sure there's many others out there that have been playing it for the same reason. Without that, we would just play Halo 4 socially occasionally, and that would be it. Next up is a ranked match composer. Similar to the social composer, it would be really nice if you went to go queue up a ranked game, you could pick multiple different playlists and it would just throw you into whichever one it could find a match quickest in. This would really cut down on queue times, and it would also allow people to queue up for multiple game modes just like they do in social. Now I know this would probably have some added complications because of the ranks and all the different playlists, but I'm sure it's possible if they put the work in. Lastly, in this section, it would be cool to get some unlockable campaign challenges like the ranked ones, or even Firefight or Spartan Ops. Just cool challenges that give us different nameplates or different skins in all different varieties of the game. That way, players who don't enjoy competitive multiplayer can still check back into MCC and try and kind of grind out some challenges for some cool unlockables. Now, I know that's a little bit harder with things like campaign challenges, as I mean, every campaign challenge that possibly exists is already out there, but they could still try and do different things. Next, let's move on to the section of features that would just be nice to have. The first one is split screen on PC. Personally, this isn't something I really cared about, as I've never even had the desire to play split screen on PC, but it is something I always see the community talking about, so it would be nice to have. Obviously, we have it on consoles, but we've never been able to have it on PC. Next up is additional mod support. Now this one I do think is pretty important, and it would really help MCC's longevity, as the current modding tools just aren't the best if you talk to people that are super into modding. I would love to see some of those complete overhauls that we've seen for games like Halo CE on PC, but without proper mod tools, that's really hard for the creators to accomplish. Don't get me wrong, the people that have been modding MCC have made super cool things, but giving them better tools just will lead to more cool community content. I also think it's really important that we get a better way to invite our friends to play modded content. Currently, it's a huge pain in the ass. Everyone has to download the mod, then you have to set up the lobby, etc, etc. I want the host to be able to download the mod, invite all of his friends, and it just prompts them. Hey, do you want to install this mod? And then if they click yes, then they can join into the game, kind of like other games do it in a community server browser. This would allow people to play a lot more of the multiplayer mods that we see that I always think look super cool, but I never get around to playing them because setting up lobbies for them is a pain in the butt. The next feature that I would like to see is just a reworking of the rank system. The rank system in MCC honestly kind of sucks. It takes forever to get a rank 50, and I just don't think it needs to be like that. I know some people are going to think this is ridiculous, but I don't even know if we need to have the 1 to 50 system in MCC. Now I know that's a little bit out there, but honestly just reducing the amount of time it takes to get a 50 would be pretty cool. I would love to see seasons implemented into MCC with the different seasons of content, so you could try and get a 50 by the end of the season and then it would reset. But the most important thing with that is there would have to be an in-game system that tracks your stats way better than it currently does, because currently all the times that they have reset the ranks, those are just lost to time. This next one is another one that I don't think is super important, but I have seen people talk about, and that's just an in-game clan system, similar to what Halo 2 had back in the day. This would just allow more variety into the game. You'd be able to create a clan with your buddies and have clan battles and everything, and while clans are kind of outdated in general, I still think this would be pretty cool to see. Next up is in-game leaderboards and better in-game stats. Now there are some super cool community sites like MCC Stats that do a pretty good job creating leaderboards, but there's no reason that 343 can't do this themselves in the game. Give us a reason to grind these ranked playlists and to grind experience so that people are more willing to do it. We also need better in-game stats like I was saying earlier. I want to be able to open up someone's profile and see all sorts of cool stats that we can't see. Right now, the stats in MCC are super bare bone. Another feature that I would like to see is the map veto system from like Halo 3 brought back. Currently, when you find a match, it just throws you into the game and you have to play whatever map and game mode it selects, but it would be cool to bring that veto system back so we don't have to play some of the absolutely terrible maps and game modes that sometimes we get stuck on. I'd also love to see the return of those partied up bars from Halo 3. In Halo 3, when you matched into a game, it showed you who on the enemy team or even who on your team was partied up together. I think that was a cool feature as it just gives you more information as a player so you kind of know what you're going up against or what you're playing with, and more information is always a good thing. Similar to that, I'd also love to see the return of the party up system. So in Halo 3 at the end of a game, if you wanted to party up with your teammates, you just click X, it would throw a little check mark next to your name, and then everyone that clicked that, once the timer ran out, would get thrown into a lobby together so they can continue to play. Currently, if you want to pick up one of the people you played with, you have to like back out, add them through the Xbox app, invite them. It's a huge pain, and honestly, I never do it for that reason. But having the party up system from Halo 3 was how I met a lot of the people that I played games with back then. Next up is improved Forge. Now they have been improving Forge to a certain degree, and that is really cool to see, and I'm not going to claim to be some huge forger, but if we could just see more of the cool Forge features from Halo Online implemented into MCC, that would be awesome. If you don't know, Halo Online's Forge is kind of like halfway between Halo Reach and Halo 4 and Halo 5. So it would be super cool if we could see some of those features make their way into MCC, because again, it would just allow the community to create cool content. This next feature is something I don't think we'll ever see, sadly, and that's just an indication of how many people are playing certain playlists. I don't need specific numbers necessarily, but it would just be nice to know if I'm trying to queue up a ranked match, or if I'm trying to queue up a specific niche game type in social, if there's any other people searching the same playlist. Maybe it could give you a pop-up saying like, hey, currently there aren't any other people searching this, would you like to continue searching? Or maybe there could just be generic, vague population counters like low, medium, high, etc., etc. That way they don't have to necessarily give us the straight up numbers because they seem to want to obfuscate those, but we could still have enough information to know if it's worth searching certain playlists. Another feature that I would love to see is an implementation of a better file browser. Currently, we don't have anything, but once the file share system is kind of implemented, we'll have the generic file share system. But I would love to see a file browser similar to Halo 5. And what I mean by that is be able to search game modes and maps with tags, gamer tag, the name of the game mode, etc., etc. While it's not perfect in Halo 5, it allows you to find some cool game modes and maps that you'd honestly would have never found without them. Another thing that I'd like to see, and this is probably just something I'd like to see, it's not even a big deal, but in Halo Reach with Invasion, we also had Invasion Slayer. I would love to see that maybe in social. I thought it was a fun game mode back in the day, and I don't know how many other people share that opinion, but it'd be cool to see Invasion Slayer return, maybe even as one of those featured playlists that I was talking about earlier. While it's not new content, it's content that we haven't seen in the MCC, so they could throw it in for a week or whatever and let us play it for a bit. And last but not least, just possible cut content from all the games. I know that 343 probably has piles upon piles of content that has been cut from all the different Halos. It would be super cool to see some of that stuff implemented into the different games if they could get it polished enough. Now I understand this one's pretty much a shot in the dark, as not only would this take a lot of time to complete cut content, there's also probably a reason a lot of the cut content was cut in the first place, so I don't really anticipate this one happening other than in the case of some of those armors that we're seeing like in Halo Reach. Here I'm talking more in terms of cut content gameplay wise, maybe it's sections of campaign levels, or maybe it's multiplayer maps. I'm sure there are tons of files for multiplayer maps that weren't totally complete that were cut at some point during the iteration, or maybe even game modes that were cut from the different games. And phew, that does it for the features that MCC needs or should get, at least in my opinion. Let me know if you have any features that I didn't mention. I would love to read them and kind of talk about them in the comments. As always, if you enjoyed the video, you know what to do. If you want to see me get mad at Halo, you can come over and watch me on Twitch. And if you want to see random crap I tweet about, I have a Twitter. With that said, I'll see you all next time. Also, if you enjoyed the video, share it around. Halo content and interest towards Halo seems to be an all-time low, but I would love to continue making content for you guys about Halo, but doing it and not getting very many views can be kind of depressing at times, so if you enjoy the videos that I make, just share them around, I guess. Alright, goodbye for real this time. Make sure you bolt shot all your enemies if you're playing Halo 4. Peace.